Welcome to today's Explainer. We are setting out on a truly profound journey right into the very core of emotional intelligence. We're going to break down the hidden friction we all face in our relationships, how we process our everyday feelings, and the actual metrics we should be using to measure our own evolution. So, let's get into it.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. Do you ever cringe at who you used to be? I mean, seriously, think about a memory from maybe 5 years ago, or honestly, even 5 months ago, that makes you physically want to hide. You know the feeling, right? We usually push those thoughts away immediately. We treat that feeling of embarrassment like it's some kind of character flaw. But what if we completely flip that narrative? What if that specific, super uncomfortable feeling was actually the ultimate proof of your success? Just keep that thought in the back of your mind as we begin to unpack the whole shebang.
Section 1. The cost of happiness.
Before we can really look inward at our own growth, we have to understand the external friction of interacting with the world. And to do that, we got to start with the seemingly illogical behavior. Why do we apologize for feeling good? Seriously, think about it. When you experience a massive win, or you're just genuinely having a totally wonderful day, there's so often this immediate, subtle instinct to kind of shrink yourself down. We downplay our success, we dim our own light when we walk into a room, and we do this to manage the comfort of the people around us. But why is our joy suddenly a problem for everyone else?
Well, the answer lies in a brutal but undeniable truth. Unhappy people will often be upset by your happiness, and this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic at play here. When someone reacts negatively to your joy, it's actually not about you at all. Your happiness is basically holding up a mirror to their current state of misery. You are inadvertently highlighting exactly what they lack. So that friction you feel, it isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's just a reflection of the other person's internal hurt.
Because of this dynamic, there is an incredibly clear, explicit rule. Don't ever make the mistake of apologizing for it. Consider yourself officially released from the burden of managing other people's misery. You simply cannot cure someone else's unhappiness by sacrificing your own joy. Apologizing for your own light doesn't help them. It literally only diminishes you.
Section 2. Decoding your emotions.
Once we actually stop shrinking ourselves for the sake of others, we finally have the space to look inward. And that brings us to a foundational law of human psychology. There's no such thing as a bad emotion, only bad reactions to emotions. I want you to really deeply consider the separation happening right here. We spend so much energy feeling guilty for feeling angry, or feeling ashamed because we felt jealous. But the feeling itself, it's entirely morally neutral.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how it visually dismantles a massive misconception we basically all carry. Think about emotions as unavoidable feelings. They just happen to us, kind of like the weather, right? Having a negative feeling does not make you a bad person. Then contrast that with reactions. These are conscious actions. This is where your agency actually lies. The architecture of emotional growth isn't about stopping the storm of emotions. It's entirely about how you choose to build your shelter and react when the storm inevitably hits. Only the reaction matters.
Section 3. Embracing the cringe.
We are about to experience a complete paradigm shift regarding a feeling we usually absolutely despise. If you cringe at your former self, that's good. It means you've grown. Never stop cringing. Remember that question I asked you at the very beginning? We need to stop running from that embarrassment. Because if you look back at how you reacted to an emotion in the past and you cringe, that is the absolute ultimate proof of your genuine emotional evolution. It literally means your baseline for what is acceptable has been raised.
Let's see how this builds into a clear visual map of maturity. You've got your past self on one end, the passage of time in the middle, and your present self on the other. The distance between the past self and the present self is measured entirely by that feeling of cringe. If there's no cringe, there is no distance. And if there's no distance, well, there has been no growth. You absolutely need that time, and you need that uncomfortable reflection to actually achieve true maturity.
Section 4. The polarization of growth. Stepping firmly into this newly evolved, unapologetic version of yourself comes with a bit of a side effect. It's impossible to be a life-changing presence to some without also being a complete joke to others. You just cannot be universally liked if you are standing firmly in your own truth. Being a fully actualized person naturally and inevitably creates polarization.
So the crucial point is right here in this contrast. To some, you're going to be a life-changing presence. These are the people aligned with your growth. To others, you're going to be a complete joke, and these are the people who are threatened by it. If you're trying to avoid being a joke to the second group, you will automatically dilute your ability to be a life-changing presence to the first group.
This perfectly validates that universal experience of not being for everyone, and it proves that being polarizing is actually a fundamental requirement for deep impact.
Section 5. Breaking the cycle.
Which brings us to our final theme, where we tie all the previous rules together. The root cause of all human friction boils down to 4 haunting words: hurt people, hurt others. Take a second to just let that sink in. This simple statement identifies the exact origin point of all the interpersonal friction we've covered today. It explains the unhappy people who are upset by your happiness. It explains the people who view your growth as a complete joke.
We can actually map out this cycle as a crystal clear narrative of cause and effect. In step 1, a person experiences hurt. In step 2, that becomes an unprocessed negative emotion. In step 3, because they haven't learned to separate emotion from action, they have a bad reaction. And in step 4, that bad reaction results in hurting others, like lashing out at your happiness, for example. This is the cycle. The unhappy person isn't evil. They are just stuck at step 3, totally confusing their painful emotions with a mandate to react negatively.
Which brings us to our final crossroad. Will you let the cycle of hurt dictate your reactions, or will you use the cringe to fuel your growth? You now have the architectural blueprint. You know not to apologize for your joy, you know to separate your emotions from your reactions, and you know that cringing at your past is the very metric of your success. The choice of what you build with this knowledge is now entirely up to you. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today, and I really hope this empowers you to go out and actively architect your own emotional evolution.